to Brewing Success, where growth is the mission, change is the reward, and progress is the goal. I am your host, Andrea Gebhardt. I'm a former educator turned passionate entrepreneur whose desire to create impact has never wavered. I've spent the last decade teaching, mentoring, and coaching people on how to create success in their lives and businesses with proven strategies and systems that not only bring about change, but big results. When it comes down to it, teaching is my specialty, leadership is my jam, and inspiring you to live a bigger, fuller life is what I'm all about. This podcast will give you the knowledge and tools you need to brew success in almost any area of your life. You're going to walk away each week feeling inspired, motivated, and ready to step outside your comfort zone and into the next level of who you're meant to be. Now let's get into today's episode. Everyone wants change, but few are willing to actually commit to the actions that change requires. Today, we're going to talk about the relationship between commitment and change. And this actually comes at a perfect time because if we don't address this now, then we're going to be on a slippery slope of progress for the remainder of the year. And if you know me and what this podcast is all about, that's 100% not okay. Growth is the mission. Change is the reward, and progress is the goal. That's what we're all about. So I say that this is the perfect time for this conversation, and here's why. We are just a few weeks into the new year, and I know that you started 2024 with a sense of excitement, possibility, and a strong desire to have a better year, right? I think we all did. We have this expectant notion to be healthier, to be more present, to make better choices, to make more progress towards our goals, to have more success in our businesses. It's part of the energy that the new year brings. As humans, it is in our nature to strive, to become better, to accomplish things, to increase our intelligence, and leave our footprint in the world. We all come to the new year with the expectation of creating something new and better for our lives. That's definitely me, and I'm super positive that is you too. Like, I don't imagine anybody wakes up at the beginning of the year and they're just like, yeah, I just really want my life to stay the same, or I want to be more broke, or I want to be more unhealthy. No, we strive for the opposite, you know? For me, this year definitely has an energy of transformation. I just feel like big things are coming. This is the fruition year, the year when all the hard work and effort starts to show up in bigger ways than ever before. Massive breakthroughs and monumental moments that affirm that you're operating fully in your calling, that you're on track to fulfill your unique purpose. I feel that strongly. I feel it and I believe it wholeheartedly. 2024 just feels different. Yet, here we are, just 22 days in, and here is what I am already seeing, and you may be personally experiencing this too. You're already slipping back into your old ways, your old habits, your old patterns of thought, your old actions and beliefs. Is this true for you? Have you already cheated yourself in some way or fallen back into an old pattern? Here's what you need to know and remember. You cannot create something new, also known as change, with your old self and old patterns, habits, actions, behaviors. New ways require new ways of doing things. If you try to create change with old habits, it's only going to end in one way. And it's called disaster. Some of you have already fell off the perpetual change wagon, the exercise wagon, the less sugar wagon, the more church wagon, the no alcohol wagon. And listen, I'm not here to shame anyone because like the song says, if at first you don't succeed, dust yourself off and try again. But we have to stop and have some real talk here about why we fall off the wagon and why we got to get back on. Listen, when you slip back into that old way of doing things, whatever it may be, procrastination, inconsistency, scrolling, negative self-talk, minimal effort, whatever it is, you end up in a little bit of a rut because that old way, that old habit kind of pushes you back. So imagine you, okay, like the ground that we stand on isn't like exactly 100% firm, right? It's malleable, like our foundation. And so here you are with like all your energy and all your might, your hands pushing on this new goal. And if you've ever had to push or shove something, here's what happens. Your upper body pushes into the object, your lower body starts to slant, and your feet are now at an angle. And you have to kind of like dig your feet into the ground a little bit to be able to take that forward inertia to create movement with whatever it is that you're pushing. So every time you participate in an old habit, old way of doing things, old thoughts, old actions, old beliefs, it pushes you back. And when you get pushed back, you have to dig in a little bit deeper and dig in a little bit deeper. And what starts to appear below your feet is a rut. And you fall into a habit of those old behaviors. You don't read the pages you said you were going to read. You don't take the actions you said you were going to take. You don't, drink the water you said you were going to drink. You don't go to the gym as many times as you said you were going to go. Every time you participate in an old way, giving up, procrastinating, being inconsistent, failing to be disciplined, picking up that extra treat, whatever it might be, you push yourself back. And what happens is because you do it again and again and again, before you know it, you're kind of in this deep hole of backwards progression. And you find yourself showing up and doing the very things that led to no progress last time, that led to you not reaching your goals last time. And you stand there in this perpetual rut and you're looking up and you just suddenly feel discouraged, defeated. You feel further behind. And your first instinct, here's the problem. Your first instinct when this happens, these bad behaviors just aren't one day here and one day there. They compound over time. A few months down the road, you're going to look up and be like, what happened? And you're going to want to blame everything around you for what is going on inside of you mentally and emotionally. You're going to want to blame everything around you for where you are, for your stagnancy, for your lack of progression, for your complacency, for your lack of success. I see it all the time. People blaming the economy, politics, their boss, their team, the leadership, their products, the comp plans, the culture, their spouse, their kids. People very rarely ever look to themselves. What changed in them, what they stopped doing, how their effort or focus changed. When we go backward, it's so interesting. When we go backward, we blame other people. However, when we go forward, we celebrate ourselves. It's time to stop blaming outside factors for inside decisions. Success is an inside job, which means you are the one who is responsible for making progress in your life, not anyone else. That is up to you. The truth is, when you fail to experience change, so if you're here right now on the 22nd of January and you're like, well, shoot, she's right. I had these goals, I had these intentions, I want to do these things, and here I am already 22 days in, and I'm not showing up in the way that I need to show up in order to make the progress I need to make to reach those goals. Now, there's two things that you can do. One, you can sit here and be, wah, I guess my life is over. I guess that goal is unattainable. I'm just going to give up and throw in the towel. Or you can stop for a quick second and come to the realization, I talk about this all the time. Awareness creates room for action, right? Realization, man, it's not that I'm terrible at this. It's not that I suck. It's not that I can't do it. I haven't made the decisions I need to make. I haven't decided to show up differently. I haven't decided to put my phone down at night and spend time with my family, or, I haven't decided to pick up the book and read the pages. I haven't decided to go to the gym. I haven't decided to eat healthier. Whatever it is, that is your decision. And the truth is, again, when you fail to experience change, it's because you never truly committed to the work the change you desired required. You never committed to the work. I can almost guarantee you that the reason why you didn't reach your goals last year, or the reason why you didn't have the success you thought you were going to have, the reason why you backslid, the reason why you backtracked, the reason why you didn't make progress is because you failed to commit to the changes you needed to make to get there. Instead, you allowed old behaviors and patterns to continue to resurface and derail your success and undercut your ability to make progress. You see, change requires change, and change requires commitment. And only you can decide to commit. You see, your biggest problem and obstacle is you. It is always, and it always has been, it always will be. Which is why we're here doing this work, learning these things, having these conversations. We're undoing the old and we're working to create the new. You see, change takes place when commitment takes root. I'm going to say that again because I want you to hang on to that. Change takes place when commitment takes root. This statement right here, and I hope you write that down somewhere, should be both inspiring and almost kind of like relieving in a way. The statement is very powerful. It reminds us that when we commit, we can create change and increase our levels of success. And when we fail to have success or we fail to make progress, it's not like you suck or, whatever you're pursuing isn't right for you. It's just that you never really committed. It was more of a commitment issue than a you issue. You get what I mean? You aren't the issue. Your commitment level is. You didn't lose weight because you didn't commit to eating healthier daily. You didn't make your book reading goal because you didn't commit to reading daily. You didn't grow your business because you didn't commit to what you needed to do daily to bring in new customers or, expand your business to reach those revenue targets, whatever it was. You didn't commit to what you needed to do daily. You didn't write the book because you didn't commit to writing daily. Notice that change doesn't come with sometimes effort. It comes with consistent daily effort. Oh, it's so good. Change doesn't come with with sometimes effort. It has to be consistent. And consistent means every day. The power is in the daily part. Commitment isn't lukewarm. It's red hot. It's undeniable. It's unbreakable. It is non-negotiable. Imagine what your life would be like in the next 30, 60, 90 days if you actually committed to the things that you needed to do to achieve the goals that you wanted to achieve. If you actually did the things and made the decisions and instilled the habits and actions that get you closer to your goals. How much progress could you make? How much further could you go? What could you actually accomplish? And most importantly, who would you become in the process? Now, isn't that motivating? All it takes is a decision, a daily decision to do what you need to do to get where you want to go. It's not hard at all. It's one decision, one day at a time. That one action, one day at a time will compound into 30 days of better, 365 days of better, and eventually a lifetime of better. Better yet, a lifetime of growth and improvement. So now the question becomes, okay, well, how do I do this? How do I become more committed? What do I commit to? First, know this. Committed people have priorities they stick to. Committed people have priorities and they stick to those priorities. Now, here's the interesting thing. Most of us are actually really good at being committed. You're committed to getting your kids up out of bed and on to school every day, right? You're committed to show up to your job. You're committed to your relationship. You're committed to, there's things we're all committed to. We understand and we actively participate in commitment all the time. However, what's interesting is we fail to recognize the association between that same level of commitment and other things we want to do, like other things we want to move the needle in. And it's interesting because sometimes when I'm mentoring people or coaching people and, we're talking about their progress in business or whatever it is, I will ask them, well, what's your commitment level? Oh, I'm fully committed. I'm like all in. I'm 100% all in. Like my vision, my this, my that. I'm like, okay, so what's the one thing that you do every day in your business to guarantee success for yourself? And 9 times out of 10, they can't answer that question. So what you're really telling me is there's not one action you're committed to every day. Like it's red hot, undeniable, unbreakable. And the answer is often no. What is that for you? Do you have that? Do you not have that? If you don't have that, we have a commitment issue. It's one thing to say you're all in. It's another thing to actually be all in. And I know that's a little bit of like a gut punch of like a question, but that's what we do here. We get gut level honest. We have real conversations so that you can make real progress. So what are your priorities? What things are you committed to? For example, movement is a priority of mine. I don't love the word exercise because it's boring. So movement, because I can categorize movement as anything. There's days when I lift weights. There's days when I take Pilates. There's days when movement looks like walking the dogs for a few miles. Okay. So movement is a priority of mine. Why is it a priority of mine? It's a priority of mine because I want to be healthy and I want to be strong. And I understand that movement is a huge part of that. So movement's a priority of mine. Therefore, I prioritize the activity of movement every single day. Every day. Every day. Movement happens for me because I'm committed to being healthy and strong. Every day. Every day. Like not sometimes. Even when I don't feel 100%, I find a way to get it in. Even when my schedule is super crazy busy, I find a way to get it in because I am that committed to it. To become committed, you have to first identify what it is you want. And you have to be super specific. The problem with most people is that they just say things like, I want to make more money. I want to have a bigger team. I want to grow my business. I want to run a marathon. I want to write a book. Like they just throw out these generalizations of what they want, but you've got to be super specific. Instead of saying, I want to read more books, I want to lose more weight, I want to grow my business, I want to become a better mom, instead of, being like that and never really identifying what needs to happen for that to happen, you can't really get very far. So you have to know what you want. You have to be super specific. So if you know that, for example, you want to run a marathon. Okay, that's 13 miles. Well, I can't run 13 till I can run 1. Right? And if the marathon is a year from now, then I got to get good at running a mile first. And then that's going to be my first goal. And that's going to mean I'm going to need to maybe try running a quarter of a mile at first or a half a mile and then a full mile, get good. And then stack them at 1.5 miles and 2 miles and 2.5 miles and 3 miles. I measure my progress that way. You have to break down what you want into quantifiable, measurable actions because you cannot manage what you cannot measure, right? So we have to know what it is that we're looking to do. So first you decide what you want, identify what that means you need to do and how that translates into daily actions. Then you got to develop a routine around that action so it gets completed daily with consistency. You got to schedule this activity in and focus on that target daily. Then you got to track your progress and your results. And soon you will start to see the fruits of your labor as that consistency of action compounds over time. It's really interesting because if you say, for example, I think it was a couple years ago, I read an article that said the average CEO reads 50 books a year. And at that point, I was probably reading 4 to 6 books a year. And I was like, man, if the average CEO and I want to think like a CEO, I want to grow like a CEO, I want to be, in that space where I'm learning and acquiring knowledge so that I can sharpen the knife and be of better service to other people, I need to level this up. And if I were to just set a goal of, okay, I'm going to read, 50 books this year, how am I going to do that? I don't have a plan, right? That's why you have to break it down. Okay, well, if I read a book a month, that's 12 books a year. If I read a book a week, that's 52 books a year. Okay, so I set a goal for 48 books. And what started happening is every single day, every time I would start a brand new book, so my goal was about 4 books a month, okay? So then I would look at that book, how do you read 4 books a month? You're crazy busy, all the things. So I'd look at that book. If that book was 13 chapters, I would read that book in 13 days. If that next book was 8 chapters, it was read in 8 days. However many chapters were in that book was how many days it took me to read it because I just would read a chapter a day. And it's crazy how much you can actually accomplish when you set time aside to actually accomplish the things that you want to do. And before I knew it, I was reading 3 and 4 books a month and I reached my goal. And I was so proud of myself and it was so exciting. And I felt like I leveled up on so many different levels that year. So you have to ask yourself, what is it that I want to accomplish? What does that look like? What are the numbers that I need? What are those things? Now, if I take that and I break that down over the course of the next year, this year, what needs to happen every month in terms of numbers? And if I break that down from months to then weeks, what does that break down into numbers? And then days, what does that break down into numbers? And now I know. Now I know. I got to do this much every day, this much every day. And if I do this much every day, then it's almost impossible for me to fail in terms of reaching my goal because I've taken what I want to do and I've broken it down into daily manageable chunks. It's not hard. That's that commitment piece that we talk about. And when you do this, and like I said, you're going to start to see the fruits of your labor as that consistency of action compounds over time, something crazy happens. A higher level of motivation kicks in for you. Automaticity kicks in for you. Self-efficacy increases, confidence increases, results increase, influence increases, leadership increases. And before you know it, you're in this upward swing, not just reaching goals, but busting right through them. You create momentum in life for yourself. You become stronger, you become better, you evolve who you are and what you're capable of. All because of one decision. The decision to commit to a new way of doing something with the intent to get somewhere better than you are right now. I mean, isn't that what life really is all about anyway? But remember, in order for commitment to take root, remember what I said. Change happens when commitment takes root. For something to take root, it's got to take hold, which means it's got to be there for a certain period of time. It's got to take root. I remember we planted rose bushes in the backyard in honor of the kid's grandma, right? Her favorite rose. We have 2 of them planted in honor of her. And the first time we had a windstorm come along, probably about, I don't know, it might have been 6 or 7 months after we planted them, one of them almost completely blew over. And I was kind of shocked because I thought for sure after having been planted for a handful of months that it would be totally secure and fine, but the roots hadn't taken hold yet. Now we just had a storm like a few weeks ago, some crazy winds and, all my patio furniture's and the pillows are all in the pool, but the rose bush didn't move. Why? Because the roots had finally taken hold. Change occurs when commitment takes root. So in order for commitment to take root, you got to give what you're doing at least, listen to me when I say this to you, at least 6 months. 6 months of intentional focus, intentional actions, day in and day out commitment to the goal. 6 months. And I know most of us, 90% of us guys are like, if I don't see results in a week, it doesn't work. I can't believe I just made that noise on the podcast. Oh, well. Oh, I'm blushing. It is what it is. That's what happens. If I don't see results in 30 days, it didn't work. If I don't see results usually in 60 to 90 days, I'm feeling really frustrated and defeated. But I am telling you, there's something magical about that 6-month range. I remember when I first started lifting weights, I worked out with my trainer for a better half of 4 or 5 months. And I was like, Nicolette, why am I not seeing the muscles I thought I would see by now? She's like, hang in there. It's coming a couple more months. And she was right. We turned that 6-month corner and I started to see the change. I started to see the definition. I remember when I first started working out, how I couldn't do certain things and how my endurance and stamina just wasn't there. And I'd get tired and I'd feel like I'd want to throw up in some of the fitness classes I was taking. And then I turned that 6-month corner and it was like I was a beast and I could do the push-ups and I could do the reps and I could go for the heavier weights. I remember when I started my business and I remember feeling when is this going to take root? When is this going to catch? I'm doing all the things. I'm showing up. It's all here. I'm going. And I remember hitting that 6-month corner and it just speeding around the corner and taking off after that. Sometimes I think time is in place to test us. Because if you can't give your dreams 6 months, maybe you don't deserve your dreams. If you're not willing to put in 6 months of consistent, committed action, maybe you don't deserve the results. Time is a test and time reveals all things. It really does. In every aspect of your life, it always will. Time will reveal Winners, time will reveal losers. Time will reveal champions and time will reveal quitters. And it's really hard to say time will reveal. Will reveal. It's a lot, but it will. It always will. What is time going to reveal about you? Guys, a year just came and went. We're in a brand new one. What is this year going to reveal about you? I know what it has the potential and possibility to reveal. But what are you going to decide? Because that's what we're talking about today. 6 months. Can you give it 6 months? Can you figure out what you want? Break it down into what needs to happen. And break it down and break it down and break it down until you know the exact daily action that needs to occur to get there. For me, when I think about building the podcast, when I think about building the well for teachers, when I think about building my business, when I think about building, just a lot of the different projects that I'm working on, I know exactly what I got to do every single day and every single one to make a little bit of progress. And I'm committed to those actions because I'm committed to those goals because I'm committed to the impact. It's big. It's important. Guys, your life is important. Your life's work is important. Your gifts, your calling, all of it is so incredibly important. Give it 6 months. And in your mind, I already know where you are, but what if it doesn't work, Andrea? Well, what if it does? What if for the first time ever, you actually committed to that workout routine? You committed to eating healthier. You committed to reading every single day. You committed to showing up in your business like you're supposed to, doing the actions that you're supposed to. What if for the first time you actually did? What could you accomplish? How much further could you go? And more importantly, like I said before, who could you become in the process of that? What if this whole time, you've just been giving up too early? What if this whole time your lack of progress or your lack of success or your inability to reach your goals was because you just never really truly committed? But what if you do? And 6 months from now, your life is unrecognizable. You're no longer in that financial pinch. You're no longer dealing with that crazy stress. You're no longer struggling to get on the floor and play with your kids. You're no longer struggling to, maintain energy throughout the day. You're no longer struggling with your health. What if? You legit have nothing to lose here. You recognize that, right? And everything to gain. And let me tell you, you will gain so much from putting this into action. Man, I'm fired up. I am fired up to take a hard, close look at what I really want this year. Break it down into what it looks like and what daily actions are going to need to take place to get there. Making it a part of my daily routine and making some real big progress. And I hope that you're fired up too, because listen, you already have what it takes. Everything is already inside of you, waiting to be tapped into, waiting to be actualized, waiting for you to wake up and activate your gifts, your talents, and your strengths so that you can become the person and accomplish the things that you were meant to. Remember, change takes place when commitment takes root. What are you going to commit to? What changes do you want to see? Promise me that after today, after this episode, that you will no longer stand in your own way. You have big gifts and an even bigger calling on your life. It's time to get serious and it's time to fully commit to your goals and your dreams. Do me a huge favor. Share this episode with 3 of your friends and encourage them to do the same. Jump on social, share it there so that together we can inspire more people to brew a little success in their lives, inspire more people to commit to the change that they want to see. Also, it would really mean the world to me if you could head over and leave a review on whatever platform you are listening to this on. And as always, if there's a particular question you have about life, business, leadership, or a topic you'd like covered on the show, shoot me a DM so we can chat about that. I would absolutely love that. I love when you guys send in comments. I love when you ask questions. I love when you're like, hey, can you teach or talk about this? I absolutely love it. It's my favorite thing in the whole world. I appreciate this incredible community so much, and I look forward to our time together next week. Thank you so much for joining me on Brewing Success, where growth is the mission, change is a reward, and progress is the goal.